to listen to the Lapped Traffic Podcast.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 187 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. I am your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. It was another picture-perfect great weekend up here in Metro Detroit. Starting to get spoiled after the late start to spring that we had here. After 3 months, though, of having to do Zoom happy hours on Friday, the usual crew was able to meet up at our favorite hangout spot, 24 Seconds, this past Friday night. It was so nice to see people out in public, enjoying a great night. Great to see all the regulars in person. Saturday, got to hang out with some of the new neighbors that we've met. And Sunday, Zaylin, who you've heard about, and a couple other buddies came over for what we had hoped to be an afternoon of cup racing. But that turned into a night race, which is okay with that. And speaking of racing, because that's what we do here, what a weekend of racing. 2 days, 4 races, plus our Wednesday Martinsville race last week. Yes, please. I want more of that. And I get, as we start introducing fans back to the track, that's going to be more and more of a challenge, but it was absolutely fantastic. Hope you guys enjoyed last week's show with Woody Kane and AJ Allmendinger. So awesome to get those two on. Love the relationship with MRN and Colleague Racing, and excited to work with those guys down the road. If you missed it, send me a message. I'll send you the link. I'll retweet it out. But I hope you guys were able to check out my appearance on 92.9 WEZQ, The Ticket, last Wednesday morning. Had a great time with Wayne Harvey and his crew there. Look forward to doing that again this week. Stay tuned for news on that on Twitter. Can't wait to get back on there. Tonight, lots to do. Recently, like within the last hour or so, we had news break on the Hall of Fame. And I've got a very specific, strong opinion on one of the inductees. So I'm going to talk with Aaron about that. Figured that would be fun. So make sure you stay dialed in towards the middle of the show with Aaron Studwell, and I'll give you my take on that. One other thing that I got to be honest, before we get rolling here, I'm really torn on, and that's this whole number on the car location here. And I mean, we're so accustomed to it being on the door. Is it that serious? Are we just looking at a reason to just nitpick NASCAR to death? NASCAR's given us so much over these last few weeks. Like, I almost feel guilty wanting to critique that. And I don't know if it's worthy of critique. On one hand, I look at it as listen, whatever brings sponsors to NASCAR. We are a money-driven sport. Like, so if somebody wants to be more centered on the door than on the quarter panel, I mean, yeah, it's going to take some getting used to, but change takes getting used to, So from that regard, I'm kind of open to it. But on the other hand, I'm like, no, damn it, the number belongs on the door, and that's the way it's supposed to be. I really don't have, I'm not leaning one way or the other on the pendulum right now. I'm really I don't know how many balls come on that pendulum swing there, but I mean, I'm really split on this right now. I've seen so much response on social media about it, and I get both sides 100%. And I guess that's what makes it hard. It's like, yeah, that's a good point. Well, now that's a good point. I get it. It would be annoying. I think it would look weird, but eventually could become the new norm. God, I literally am so torn on having one way or another. So that's where I'm at on that. Maybe it'll change over the next couple weeks. I mean, I've seen some of the teams have tweeted out, logos, which do you like better? And of course the number on the door looks better because that's what we're used to. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to buy a diecast if 2 years from now that's the new norm. Doesn't mean I'm not going to buy and it's just change. And we are a sport that doesn't like to adapt to it very well. So that's where I'm at on that. All right. Hopefully you're still tuned in. Great show lined up for you guys tonight. Austin Hill from HRE is going to be on. Got your Homestead coverage from all 3 series and your double Xfinity race that we had. Social media shout outs. Aaron Studwell will be on. Lucky Dog lap down picks and fantasy. Lap traffic fantasy. This is a big week coming up. We're going plate, spacer, whatever you want to call it, racing. And it's the last week in segment 1 at Talladega. So things could be shaken up a lot after this week. So let's get things going. Let's get Mr. Austin Hill on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his 4th appearance on the Lap Traffic podcast. He's got 5 top 10s in 5 starts this season. He picked up 4 wins last year and finished 5th in the standings in his first year with Hattori Racing. Welcome back to the show, the driver, their number 16 with Hattori Racing, Austin Hill. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Just watching it rain up here in North Carolina, but it's been good. It's been good. I'm glad to be back on the show.
Absolutely. Glad to have you back. How was the quarantine, man? What'd you do to keep yourself busy?
Well, for one, I spent way too much money. And I know that I know that's kind of like backwards on what you're supposed to do.
Right.
After seeing all these guys getting into iRacing and stuff like that, I ended up going out and buying a iRacing simulator for the house, and ended up buying a few more things. So yeah, I spent a little too much money during quarantine on some house items. We just had moved into a house a month before all this started, and as soon as we were in quarantine, I started realizing how much stuff we didn't have for the new house, and just started to buy things here and there, and next thing you know, it kind of added up a little bit.
Amazon makes it way too easy, don't they?
Oh yeah, they make it really easy.
Talk about the iRacing thing, because I tell you, I don't have one. I've always thought about getting one, and I'm like, man, yeah, that would be kind of cool to put that up in the man cave in the basement. Did you get a lot of use out of it and all that?
Yeah. I'm still using it now. I've actually started getting into some league racing stuff, and I race on Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights. I race on Tuesday nights in the trucks and Wednesday nights in the Xfinity car. So it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun to get out there and race with a lot of these guys. A lot of guys, they're really good at this iRacing stuff. So when I first started doing it, it definitely took a little while to get used to. It's definitely different than the real life world, but it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun to get out there and race with a lot of guys.
That's awesome. Austin, last time you and I talked, we were in your hauler the Friday night before the MIS race. We sat there and you said, we just need something to jumpstart our team. And lo and behold, you guys go out there the next day and you picked up that win, and then you followed that up with a few more wins in the playoffs. What ended up clicking finally for you guys towards the end of last season?
Yeah, I mean, it's like any other driver will tell you, it takes when you start with a new team like I did in the start of the season, it takes a little while for you and the crew chief and just everybody in the shop to kind of get gelling right, and everybody to you just kind of, the crew chief figuring out if I like a looser truck or a tighter truck than his drivers in years past, and everything like that kind of goes into it, and just kind of knowing what I need throughout a race to have a shot at winning. And we really worked on that throughout the season. We sat down, we talked, me and Scott, we would talk, and we'd try to figure out, what I was needing and what I was wanting in the truck and what I was looking for. And throughout the season, we started figuring that out. Midway through the season, we built some new equipment, new trucks, and that new truck that we built, we took it to Michigan. That was the very first race on it, was Michigan. And to go out there and win with it, we felt like, the new truck was kind of something that just kind of brought that team back to life a little bit. So we ran that truck at Michigan, we ran it at Las Vegas, and we ran it at Homestead, and all 3 of those races we won with it. So that truck has a very good record right now.
Absolutely.
Even this season, that truck's been very strong every time we've ran it. It broke the streak on winning, obviously, but it's been strong every time we've ran it. We just ran it at Homestead. We were running second to Kyle all race long in a late race caution. We just kind of it didn't work out in our favor. We had older tires than a lot of the other guys in the field, and that's kind of what hurt us on finishing second and ended up finishing seventh instead. So that truck's been really good, and we've built some newer trucks as well on top of that to kind of mimic truck 10 that we had that we debuted at Michigan. So there's a lot of good things in our ahead for this 2020 season for HRE.
That's awesome, man. That's well, and like you said, you got new trucks. It's carried over. 5 races in, 5 top 10s. I tell you, you have been a very popular pick in the Lap Traffic Fantasy League amongst a lot of the players for the truck series. So that's awesome. This past weekend, man, another stellar performance. Talk a little bit about what it's like having the other series guys in there. Obviously, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, as a truck series regular, when the bounty and all that came out and all the hype around that, do you like that? Do you not like it? Do you like having those guys out there from a truck series regular? What's your perspective on that?
I honestly, I love having those guys come out there and race with us. You kind of see where you stack up with the Cup guys, and you see where you could possibly improve on. So I got to see firsthand at Homestead. I ran behind Kyle for many of laps at Homestead, and it wasn't that he was doing really anything special that I saw. It's just that he could really get the truck turned in the center. He could really get back to the gas really early and carry that momentum down the straightaway. He just had a really, really good long run truck. And, after about 4 or 5 laps, he'd kind of start driving away from us a little bit. So, and my truck wasn't perfect, so I felt like if we could have made the truck better throughout the race and, just kind of kept working on it, we could have had a shot at him. But, throughout the race, not having practice and stuff like that, you kind of go with what you know. This Homestead race, we had a different tire than we had last year. And this tire just seems to be a little bit different. It seems like the setups this year are having to be a little different just because the way the tire is. It feels like you lose a lot of rear lateral grip with this tire. For our setups anyways, I can't speak for everybody, but for our setups, our rear lateral grip, we just don't have it. When I get back to the gas hard, it feels like the back end wants to step out a lot. And I've noticed that with this tire everywhere we've ran it so far this season. So, and I think that Kyle is just running and racing as much as he has and running these tracks as much as he has. He already has a leg up on you a little bit just because he knows exactly what he wants in the truck to be fast. So he was just a little bit better than us at Homestead, but like I said, I mean, it's awesome to have these guys come in and race with us. I honestly wish that they could race with us more than just the 5 races or whatever it is that they can, because I feel like every race that you run with them, and when you are running up front and racing around them, you learn things each and every week that you can kind of take down the road whenever you are racing against your Truck Series regular guys.
Absolutely. That's great perspective there. From as a fan, we see pros and cons. We see the pros of it. It helps these teams be able to fund for their developmental drivers. And the con is we know that a Truck Series regular may not win, and it hurts them with their points and all that kind of stuff. But I love that perspective that you just gave, and I love the fact that you said, "Hell, let them out there as much as they want." That's fantastic. I think that's great, and I think the listeners are really going to enjoy that right there. You mentioned practice. Are you a fan of these one-day shows? Do you want practice? Do you want a limited? What's your take on the on that so far this year since coming back to racing?
Well, I'll tell you this. Whenever the schedule came out and it showed that there was going to be no practice and no qualifying, I walked in the shop the next day and I looked at the guys. I said, are you guys excited about that? And they were kind of, they didn't really know what to say.
Sure.
And I told them, I said, man, I am stoked. And they were like, why is that? I said, well, I have all the faith in the world in you guys, because every time we unload at the racetrack, we're always close. And then we work on it, especially at the end of the season last year. We were always close when we would unload. and we just kind of work on it, critique it, just try to get it better throughout practice. And we tried some things throughout practice. So, you know, I've enjoyed it. I don't think you need any practice or qualifying or anything like that. You know, I say that now because we're running good. I might not say that when we go to, you know, wherever it is down the road and we're struggling, you know, then I might be like, man, if we just only had some practice. But right now, as good as our truck's been off the trailer, and when we just go racing and being close on splitter heights and everything else, it's been a lot of fun because we're up front, we're battling with everybody, and we're not in the left field. So it's been really fun. Scott and everybody back at HRE they've just done a awesome job just getting these Toyota Tundras at the track to be faster off the truck, and it's been fun.
That's awesome. Let's talk about these one-day shows. I can only imagine how busy you and the team and everybody are with having to unload, get it through in tech, get it to the grid, and go run. But you as the driver have you really been able to step back and notice like just how empty these racetracks are, the no fans? Like, how has that impacted your race day, not having fans in the garage or in the stands and all that?
It's very odd. You know, it's really weird when you go to the racetrack and you pull inside and you don't see any motorhomes, you don't see anybody there hooting and hollering and having a good time. And yeah, it's really weird. You know, the very first race that we ran without them, it was even more odd. Now that I have some races under my belt, I kind of just try to not focus on that as much. I try to just focus on the task at hand. You know, I just focus on what I need to go out there and do. But every time you walk up to the grid and people aren't running up to you and kids aren't running up to you just trying to get your autograph and stuff, it's definitely very weird. And then when you're standing there doing the national anthem and everything,
sure, and
there's nobody in the stands, it's very odd. We definitely want to see the fans back soon. It was nice to see some of the fans be able to come back at the Homestead Cup race. You know, we had 500 or 1,000 guests be able to come. So for the Cup race, so that was cool to see. And hopefully, just as we keep progressing, we can start getting back to a little bit more normal and really start being able to see the fans, because it has been very weird to go out there and race and not see people sitting in the stands.
Absolutely. Austin, you know, we had the Xfinity doubleheader at Homestead this past weekend. We got the Cup doubleheader coming up at Pocono. I believe you guys have one coming up at Kansas. Do you like that concept for the Truck Series? What challenges does it pose for you or your team or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, as a driver, I don't think as a driver standpoint, you're bothered by it. I mean, you're already there racing, so why not run 2 races in a row? But it does kind of put you in a little bit of a predicament for the first race. You want to be aggressive, you want to win that race, but at the same time, you don't want to wreck your truck for the next night. So since I haven't done it yet, I don't know what to expect, but I do know, just talking to some of the other drivers that are in the Xfinity Series and stuff, they just say it is kind of not frustrating, but just a little. You're kind of just on edge the whole first race, just because you don't want to tear nothing up. You want to make it through that first race, and then the second race, you know, be able to get that through that race as well and have that primary car for that race. So, you know, that it's going to be kind of hard to balance the aggressiveness and still wanting to have that truck for the next night. But my guys, we're going to bring two primary trucks to the track. So if something does seem to happen in the first race at Kansas, at least we know we'll have a really good backup truck to be able to run the next night, because it would be just one of our primary trucks anyways. So, you know, I'm not as worried about it as maybe some people might be. I know the race teams, they're definitely it's a lot more work for them, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't bother me one bit.
That's awesome. I'm excited about it. I love the trucks, as you know. I'm excited for a doubleheader. Absolutely. Let's talk about HRE for a minute. I kind of look at that team, your team, kind of like a Kaulig Racing in the Xfinity Series a little bit. You're not a powerhouse team like Gibbs or SHR or Penske, a single series team that are building and putting the right pieces together. It's been exciting to see you guys open up strong post-return here. Talk a little bit about the team and you know, the involvement that you have with them and getting this team so strong and in place to go out there and compete with the KBMs and all that in the Truck Series.
Yeah, I mean, it just all goes back to people. You got to have the right guys. You got to have the right crew chief to work with the driver. You got to have the right, you know, engineer, just everything that goes on into a race. So, you know, we just we've all just kind of bonded together. We're kind of like a family almost. You know, when you go to the shop, I go to the shop every single day and hang out with the guys. I'm always just trying to show them that I want to be there. I want to help out. I want to show them that my commitment level is there, and show them that I want to go win races. So whatever we got to do to make that happen, I'll do it. So, and I think they've been seeing that, and they really know that I'm committed. So, you know, it makes them work that much harder. And, you know, we have a good time at the shop. You know, there's always some goofing around and stuff, but when the business comes, it you know, we're ready for it. So, yeah, I mean, you know, like you said, we're a small team. We only have 10 guys in the shop that work there. But we have 8 to 10 guys that are very, very knowledgeable and very good at what they do. And they're very passionate to go out there and win races. So I think that's why you see this team be so successful, because they're just on top of everything. You know, they're very, they critique everything. They really, are all about just perfection and making the least amount of mistakes possible when you're racing. So, you know, I just think that's kind of shown why this team is so good at what they do, because of, you know, the love that they have for the sport.
That's great. No, I love it. You can see it as a fan. You can see the passion and the dedication, because it's showing in the performance, which is absolutely awesome. Austin, we'll wrap it up with this one. You told me at MIS last year you needed to get better on social media. How's that going for you, man?
I mean, I've gotten a little better at it, but I'm not the best at that. I mean, I'm the type of guy that, you know, and it's nothing to do with the fans seeing what I'm doing. It's nothing to do with that. I'm just the type of guy that I put my phone in my pocket, and I don't really look at it much. I don't pull it out of my pocket a whole lot. I just, you know, I try to stay off of social media as much as possible. Just because I feel like, I don't know. I'm that type of guy. I'm not that great in it. And the PR guy at HRA, he jumps on me all the time. He's like, man, you need to post more. You need to do this and that. I have done a little bit better at post-race interviews. I do some selfie interviews that we've been posting to the HRE page. And so I have been doing a little bit better at doing that stuff, but yeah, I'm not good at that stuff. I don't know if I ever will be good at it, but I do want to say you guys keep betting on me, because it's going to come around for us sooner or later. So don't quit betting on us yet.
So real quick, and I'll get you out of here. The fantasy league is you got if trucks are running, you pick a truck driver. If Xfinity's running, you pick Xfinity, and then the Cup is limited to you can only pick a Cup driver once if they made the playoffs. So it's pretty competitive. There's definitely some social media bashing amongst the lap traffic fantasy players, which is awesome. But no, you have been a very popular Truck Series pick this year, man, for sure.
All right, well, we're planning on getting it done at Pocono. We're tired of running, you know, 5th, 7th, and all that. We're ready to go get a win. So somebody's got to pick us.
Absolutely, I love it. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, huge thanks to Austin Hill for calling into the show. Austin, thank you as always. Hopefully, get to catch up with you in person before the year's over, and good luck the rest of the season, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hopefully we can catch up soon, and, you know, everybody can get to the racetrack sooner rather than later. It'd be nice.
Absolutely, man. All right, take care. Enjoy the rest of the week, and good luck at Pocono.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Of course.
See ya.
Oh, Lap Traffic Nation, great to catch up with Austin Hill. Just really enjoy talking with him. He's so awesome. Glad to have gotten to know him over the last couple years and excited to watch him the rest of this season. And there's not too many things I'll say it is an inevitability, but I think Austin Hill is definitely an inevitability in victory lane at some point this year. All right. Let's keep up with the truck talk. Let's start talking a little Homestead this past weekend. So the trucks, Saturday night with Kyle Busch doing Kyle Busch things. Kyle had to start at the rear of the field and had to drive through the packed, because failed inspection. Failed pre-race inspection. Here's what I want to preface. He failed pre-race inspection without practice and qualifying. I cannot still really wrap my brain around that situation. Like, how do you take it from the shop to the inspection line to the grid? Not much room for error there. I know there are some theories out there on how that can happen, but I just don't get it. Nonetheless, I'm not surprised at all about Kyle Busch picking up his 58th win in the Truck Series. He's ran 4 of the first 5 of these things. I think he's got one more eligible run in the series, and wouldn't be surprised if he won that one too. Now, let's talk a little truck regulars. Lap Traffic alum, new to the team this year over at GMS, picking up a second place finish. Tyler Ankrum really, I think, put himself on the map to finish behind Kyle Busch and to finish ahead of Ross Chastain and Chase Elliott with a P2 finish. Really something for him as a driver, a young, very young driver, and a young team to be able to hang their hat on for sure, and definitely use that as a strong momentum builder for the rest of the season. There was some major shakeups in the Lap Traffic Fantasy this week, and a lot of that had to do with most of the field taking Brett Moffitt, who got caught up in one and finished 36th. Very uncharacteristic of him. Definitely look for him to rebound here in a couple weeks at Pocono. Not that the truck race was bad, but, man, you look at that truck race that we had at Homestead to wrap up the season finale. Normally I can say the truck race stole the show on just about any given weekend. And I can't say that this weekend. And again, not that that's a bad thing. I tell you, PETM and Rusty really says it best. They're not all going to be barn burners, and we got to be okay with that. And I enjoyed the truck race. I just wasn't on my normal edge of the seat with the truck race. And that's because the Xfinity racing this weekend was the show stealer as far as it was concerned. I think we can all come to that general consensus there. And I'll get to the Xfinity racing here in a minute. But real quick, just kind of want to run down the standings. I'm only doing this every once in a while here. But Austin Hill, who you just heard a few minutes ago, is in first place with a 44-point lead over Christian Eckes, followed by Grant Enfinger, just 4 points back. Ben Rhodes, Todd Gilliland, Zane Smith, Johnny Sauter, and Brett Moffitt currently wrap out your top 8 if we were to set a playoff field now. I think the interesting part with the standings, one is what a commanding lead Austin Hill currently has, kind of reminiscent of what Grant Enfinger had last year. Basically led the point standings the entire way. And Grant Enfinger is the only Truck Series regular with a win, and I don't foresee that being the case throughout the rest of the regular season in the Truck Series. So definitely looking forward to seeing how these standings in the trucks shake up once some of these other guys start getting wins, once the likes of Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott aren't competing in them. All right, let's move over. Let's talk a little Xfinity racing, and what a weekend of Xfinity racing we had. We saw the return of Dale Jr. We saw another Dash for Cash race. We saw some incredible racing Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, we saw Dale Jr. pick up another top 10 in the Xfinity series. Here's a little stat. Since Texas 2015 in the Xfinity series, Dale Jr. has ran 9 Xfinity races, and he's got 9 top 10 finishes in all of those Xfinity series. And he even led a little bit. It's just so great for the fans. It's so great for the sport. I know Junior's probably just got to love it, knowing he does it a couple times a year, once a year. I just think it brings so much to that race when Dale Jr. is in it. And again, teaser, stay tuned for my take on Dale Jr.'s Hall of Fame induction announcement with Aaron Studwell here in a little bit. How about Harrison Burton? Found himself out of a job at KBM after last year, picks up a full-time ride with JGR, and in just his 19th start, picked up his second win in the Xfinity Series. Lot of positive, I think, to come with this young kid. I don't think this is the last time we're going to be talking about Harrison Burton being in victory lane this year. I think we're in for a very exciting Xfinity Series. You know, last year we had the big three. I think this year it might be spaced out a little bit more, which is only going to make it that much more exciting for us as fans. Wouldn't be surprised to see Chase Briscoe, Harrison Burton, maybe Ross Chastain finally start to get in the groove. We're going to see a very different, I think, playoff grid this year than what we saw last year, and I'm really looking forward to that in the Xfinity Series. Chase Briscoe, man, what a long weekend this guy had. Saturday, issues on the pace lap, finds himself multiple laps down, battles back to the lead lap. Just grueling night, and finishes with a 7th place finish. Are you kidding me? And then turns around the next night on Sunday, picks up the win in the Xfinity Series, picks up his 3rd win, getting closer and closer to his goal of 8 there. 5th win in the series. Just an incredible finish Sunday afternoon. Couple of late cautions, restarts, really made both Xfinity races really interesting. We saw long green flag runs, followed by late race cautions, which just led to some remarkable finishes in the Xfinity Series. Just an absolute win for the series, an absolute win for the drivers, an absolute win for NASCAR. Homestead absolutely delivered this weekend, and I think you can credit the Xfinity Series for that almost 100% without question. Another guy who had an incredibly long weekend was Noah Gragson. Led 83 and 81 laps, most of any driver, and just lost both races in heartbreaking fashion. These things that stayed green, we'd have talked about our first sweep in terms of double headers there, because he definitely had the car to beat both days. And real quick shout out to last week's winner, last week's guest on Lap Traffic, AJ Allmendinger, who, while he did not win the race, picked up the Dash for Cash win Sunday afternoon, which is really cool. Got to give some props to Burton, Gregson, Briscoe, Chastain, and Riley Herbst, who all finished in the top 10 in both races, which I think is impressive considering the first, time for a Xfinity Series doubleheader. The fact that Burton and Herbst are both rookies in the series, the finishes and all that we had, I think it shows a lot of promise for these guys, and excited to see what they do going forward. Dash for Cash, Briscoe, Brandon Jones, Ross Chastain, and AJ Allmendinger coming up. I love this group. You got AJ, who will probably be the odds-on favorite to win the Dash for Cash at Dega. You got Ross, who's looking to cross over to that next level. You got Brandon Jones, who's younger and looking to make a name for himself. And you got Briscoe looking to carry on the success of Cole Custer and Stuart Haas Racing last year in the Xfinity Series. And now let's throw all 4 of those for $100,000 at a plate race, tapered space, or whatever you want to call it. I'm really looking forward to the Dash for Cash at Talladega on Saturday. All right, let's talk a little Cup. Well, Denny Hamlin picks up his 3rd win in 12 races of the season, dominating the race. We can say all we want about Dennis, but if we critique him because we don't like how he is at a post-race interview, or that he wrecked our favorite driver, or that he voices his opinion on social media, we do have to acknowledge that the man can wheel a race car. Picked up his 40th career win this past weekend. 40 years old this November with 40 wins. If we compare that to the likes of Kevin Harvick, who picked up his 50th career win and will be 45 this year, these two have very similar careers. Only difference, Kevin Harvick's got a championship. Both will be in the Hall of Fame without question. Props to Denny's 40th career win. Just got to sometimes give credit where credit's due. Nice job there, sir. Now, got to take a minute and say, if you haven't followed along with Denny Hamlin and Corey LaJoy over the last week on Twitter. They're two bantering back and forth. You've missed out on life, and I encourage you to go and get a good chuckle and scroll through their timelines over the last couple weekends for sure. Chase Elliott, man, dude had a hell of a run in the truck race, had a hell of a race in the Cup race, picking up another second-place finish this weekend. But I think the talk of the town as far as impressive finishes go. I mean, yes, Denny Hamlin won his 40th race. Chase Elliott finished in second, but those are to become expected. What's not necessarily as expected, tongue twister there, and is more so impressive, has to be Tyler Reddick, who picked up another strong top 5 finish this past weekend. He's had a couple top 10s and top 15s. Realistically, could probably have had a few more along the way. It really is looking like Tyler Reddick is the cure to RCR's long dry spell. I love Tyler Reddick. He's been a real big supporter of the show. And man, I really hope that he is able to turn RCR around a little bit and get them back into competition. We've seen these teams just go through these massive up and downs, right? RCR obviously dominated with Senior. We had the Roush Fenway era. We had the HMS era with Jimmy Johnson. We've kind of seen the Penske and Stuart Haas and Joe Gibbs, all three competing, pretty strong for the last 5-8 years now. It would really be nice to see RCR be able to be brought into the table when we're talking about these guys, because they're not, and they haven't been for a while. It's the same thing like Richard Petty Motorsports. Would love to see these guys back at the table in conversation when we're talking about teams that can go out there on a weekly basis and win. Maybe not, any driver in SHR, well, maybe not, because they haven't shown it. Kevin Harvick, any driver at Joe Gibbs, with the exception maybe of Eric Jones on a consistent basis, we could say could go out there and win on any given Sunday, right? We could say any team maybe could go out on any given Sunday and win from a Joe Gibbs, a Penske, a Stuart Haas. We're not talking about RCR. We're not talking about Roush Fenway. We're not talking about Richard Petty. We're talking about JTG and the improvements that they're trying to make. These teams that were at the forefront years ago just aren't in the conversation anymore. So it'd be really nice if a young guy like Tyler Reddick, who's just dominated in the Xfinity Series, picking up 2 championships in back-to-back years with 2 different teams, is able to lead RCR back to the forefront. So little tangent there that I wasn't expected on going on there, but there it is. And also, got to give a quick shout out, Christopher Bell also stepped up his game as of late with 3 top 10s since our return back to racing. All right, let's get to some questions that I asked you guys on Twitter here the other day. So I gave you guys 2 questions. Number 1, were you impressed with the quality of racing at Homestead without it deciding a championship? And the other, kind of a preview for this weekend at Talladega, knowing that we just have to deal with plate spacer races, would you prefer tandem or would you prefer packed racing? So let's get to some of your responses. Nick at FGRDriver17. I'd rate Homestead 7 out of 10 and bring back the tandem. There was more strategy involved. I personally enjoyed it. Least we forget 4 wide, 2 rows deep for a finish. Now it's a boring 500 miles of one pack parading at 200 miles an hour. But the fans love the big one. Nick, I agree there 100%. I would go one step further, and I don't think the fans like the big one. The casual fans like the big one. I think, those that tune in because they see Talladega or Daytona on the TV guide when they hit the guide button on the remote, and it's like, oh, Daytona, let's see it crash. And I think those are the fans that like the big one there. But I agree with you there, sir, for sure. NASCAR fandom at Fandom NASCAR. Yes, I was impressed with the racing at Homestead. First 4 cars were in sight of each other. So other than a mistake or lap traffic, no pun intended, could have made the difference. I'd prefer tandem racing. Pack racing creates the big one, taking out more cars. I feel ya. Andrew Cantian at Racing Cants. Fun race for sure. More racing because 5 through 40 doesn't have to lay over for 1 through 4. Could be the curse of whatever track plays host due to format. and we'll find out when we get to Phoenix. And as for the second question, Canteen said, don't ask questions you don't want an answer to. Neither. More short track and road courses. Well, can I get an amen on that one for sure? Jess at Nitro Copeland, not impressed but satisfied and enjoyed it. Give me pack racing all day. The threat of the big one at any second keeps me on edge the whole race. Jess, I get that completely too. It's just a product of the environment that we get with Talladega and Daytona. David at David C. James, Homestead has been the best 1.5 mile race on the schedule. I think we all wish it was still the finale, but it was a great race weekend. Pack racing is still my favorite. Talladega is my favorite race to attend. Excellent there, sir. And Matt at Matt Camper 1994, I was completely impressed with the racing at Homestead, especially with the 2 Xfinity races, which had close racing. I think pack racing keeps the fans on the edge of your seat, and you never know what's going to happen. I'm with you there, sir. So my takeaways, I was impressed with the racing at Homestead this weekend. Canteen brought up a good point about what could be a curse at whatever track hosts the finale. You don't want to be that guy that interfered with the championship. And I think that's why since it in inception, at least from the Cup Series perspective, you had to win the championship. To win the championship, you ended up having to win that race. As he said, 5 through 40, basically just get out of the way. But that said, I was the Xfinity races this weekend just were absolutely incredible. So impressed with the double that those guys did. It was absolutely fantastic. And as far as the preferred style of racing at the plate tracks, initially I was not a fan of the tandem, but it grew on me. I would not be opposed to a tandem at Dega race and then maybe pack racing at Daytona or vice versa. Like I said, I think the big ones draw in the casual fan, and that's not to say if you enjoy Talladega or Daytona, it's because you want to see a wreck. You just enjoy that style of racing. I just think we all know the inevitability of the big one is coming. But to Jess's comment, like them or not, we are definitely on the edge of our seat to see if our driver makes it through. And that said, we're going to Talladega this weekend with fans, which is absolutely awesome. All right, let's get to a little social media. All right, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, Instagram, The Lap Traffic Podcast, TikTok at Lap Traffic PC, YouTube, The Lap Traffic Podcast, and of course on Twitter at Lap Traffic PC. All pretty uniform there. Just search Lap Traffic on any platform, and odds are it will pop up. Listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean. Just search The Lap Traffic Podcast or search NASCAR on your favorite platform for podcasts, and odds are it's going to pop up. Don't forget about the giveaways. Got the t-shirt and hat giveaway with about 130 or so to go, and got the rear quarter panel giveaway for 5,000 followers. So keep those retweets going. Thank you for all the support. And speaking of some followers, got some new follower shout outs on Twitter. Off Access Paint at Off Access Paint. Man, those guys do some incredible work with driver helmets. Actually talked to them today. Going to look at getting them on the show here in the next couple weeks, which is going to be pretty cool. Mike at M Ford, who is the racing's communications leader for NASCAR. Absolutely awesome. NASCAR superfan at K Blockhead 43, and Chevy Girl at Sarah Newland. Welcome to the show, guys. Thanks for the follow. Hope you enjoy the show. Stickers and koozies are available for free. All you got to do is go to the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. Fill out the contact page. I will send them to you. And there's t-shirts and all that good stuff available on the website. All right, let's get Mr. Aaron Studwell on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line. You can follow him on Twitter at RaceWeather, along with Brian Newdorf at NASCAR_WXMAN, keeping us up to date on all the weather happenings. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Aaron Studwell. Sir, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, sir. I'm doing well. And yourself?
I am pretty good for a Tuesday. It's show day. It's beautiful weather. Had some beautiful weather this weekend. Had a great time up here in Metro Detroit. So I'll take it.
Good. No, you guys have, after the weird May y'all had, yeah, you've definitely earned a nicer nicer June.
Absolutely, yeah. And of course, we were supposed to have race weekend last weekend here at MIS under the normal schedule, and it would have been a picture-perfect weekend, which MIS never just gets like, yeah, don't even worry about it, enjoy yourself type thing, and that's what we would have had.
Yeah, but we'll look ahead to Talladega, and you guys will hopefully get your race, governor permitting, and
yes,
we'll see how things pan out.
I'm hopeful. Well, listen, man, you've got some exciting news. Everyone knows that, at least if they've been listening, that you've completed your PhD and you have started your own consulting company. Why don't you do a shameless plug and tell everyone a little bit about that real quick before we get to nuts and bolts?
I'll start with the pluggy part. So that's exoconsulting.net. And I'll go a little side note here. exoconsulting.com was available, but they were willing to sell it to me for $1,100.
Yeah, maybe after next year's ROI comes in.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's at Exo Consulting on Twitter. And if you go to Twitter, you can see where it is everywhere else. And, it's kind of at the point where I've been looking for work for a while, and, I just say, you know what? I have to make my own opportunities. And that's really what it came down to. It was, I'm sitting here and looking for work, and it's not happening because of COVID, because of constricting market, because there's a lot of meteorologists out there for work. And I'm thinking, you know what? I want to come up with an idea. And I came up with the idea is Exo Consulting, and because I've done exoplanets, I've done planetary atmospheres. And so I've really worked with a former teammate of mine at Michigan on a lot of the branding and color schemes, and then worked with a friend of yours on the logo. And it's really all come together. So I'm just going to say the bigger, broader mission is to expand the boundaries of space through innovative research and content. We're also going to look at science fiction a bit, and then we're going to look at kind of that odd place where the two of them meet. So we'll talk alien civilizations. We'll talk UFOs. Wow. Nice. Yeah, so it's a little bit – we're going to stay science grounded. But, these studies have been done recently talking about the probability of life elsewhere in the galaxy, elsewhere in the universe. We have the Navy coming out with films of – really kind of unidentified flying objects. We can't identify what they are. We're not saying they're aliens.
Right.
But we don't know what they are. So we'll talk about stuff like that.
Cool.
Got some opportunities coming up.
Follow along with that. That's
yeah, please do. And I love all the your listeners to do that. I have some opportunities that are aligning with racing that may actually bring me up to Michigan for a bit so we could actually sit down and meet.
Absolutely.
Of all things.
Yes.
So it's going in the right direction, surprisingly. And if anybody would have told me how much work it is to start a small business, and you've been there,
yeah,
it just never seems to end. But you have this kind of endless energy. I was up last night at around midnight doing my social media for today, making the graphics, knowing I can't have corporate logos in there from a picture I took, but don't want it to look like a McDonald's ad.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's when I started my credit consulting thing, it was definitely challenging, but like you said, you're doing it for yourself, so you got a little extra momentum knowing that you're doing the work for yourself and not somebody else.
That's 100% right, and that really kind of nails it. I'm my own boss, and I'm my own. I think most people are. I'm my own worst critic.
Sure.
But I know what I can do, and I know if I work hard and really find the right space, because and I'm not being braggy. Well, you said I can be braggy, but you throw the PhD on the end of it opens a few more doors.
Absolutely.
And it gets a little bit eyes raised eyebrows. It's like, okay, this guy is an expert at something. Right. I don't know what it is.
Right.
But he's worked for 25 years.
Yeah.
He has a PhD. So you know what? We'll bring him in. We'll talk. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It's not going to take race weather at all. It's still going to be very, and we talked off air, the website needs some love. The website will continue to be updated. But yeah, go to exoconsulting.net and you'll see what a website can be. And I know by doing that, I know I can elevate the rest of the brand. And that's something else. I've gone through a rebranding on race weather with the new branding on Exo Consulting, and they're all going to fall under the same LLC. So it's just real positive. I mean, real positives. And honestly, I see, and I had this, and I've had it out a couple different times, and I'm going to highlight it later tonight. and that you're a partner company, and you've helped me. You've been a great friend. You're giving me a chance to promote it now. You've gotten me introduced to the right people. And you come along for the ride, and you're such a great friend that I could not imagine not including y'all.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I love that.
Very welcome.
I love that. All right, let's take a left turn here, and just announced within the last 20 minutes or so the Hall of Fame nominations, and I only want to focus on one for a quick minute, and that's Dale Jr., because I've already seen a ton of people either hell yeah, that's awesome, or he doesn't deserve to be in there, and I just want to talk to those people for a minute. And to those people, and don't at me. I'm going to steal one out of Brian Newdorf. Don't at me on this, because I'm not even going to entertain it. Dale Jr. deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And I'm pretty sure you're going to align with that thought process there. And here's the thing, and this goes across the board for all sports. Championships don't determine, in my opinion, and I'm sticking to my opinion here, Hall of Fame worthiness. Hall of Fame, in my opinion, whether it's baseball, NASCAR, basketball, it's to a degree, it's a marketing ploy. It's a way to set up a physical brick and mortar location to attract people, to attract revenue for that Hall of Fame museum. Not that there's anything wrong with that by any means. And it's a way to celebrate careers. And whether celebrating careers means celebrating championships, I don't think those two have to go hand in hand. In my opinion, we always say Daytona's our Super Bowl. So technically that's a championship by the way a lot of NASCAR fans look at it. And I 100% think what you do as a human being and what you do for the sport that you're participating in, along with your achievements within the sport, determine Hall of Fame worthiness. And by that alone, Dale Jr., first ballot Hall of Famer.
I have no problem. And this, I'm going to take another left turn and go to baseball real quick. I have a huge problem with people saying, well, he wasn't great enough. He doesn't deserve to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And that's what a lot of people say in baseball, and how some voters vote and think in baseball. But yeah, you think about the era he raced from, and I've got his stats up in front of me. So he raced in Cup from 99 to 17. Yeah, not a full schedule, not all the time. But you think about the quintessential driver from that era. You have to think of Dale Jr. And I don't have the number in front of me. How many most popular drivers did he win? 15,
16, something like that?
Yeah. Okay, so we're in the same ballpark on thoughts for that. Most popular driver. 26 wins, 260 top tens out of 631 races.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
He finished in the top 10 in the standings multiple times.
Yeah.
He just can't, right. And it's what he's done off track and who he was. And it's, if you want to see what brought people to NASCAR in that early 2000s into the tens more with him, people were going to come to this sport more than likely as a Dale Jr. fan, whether it was because of his father or not, whether he was a legacy. The people are legacy fans or not, it doesn't matter the reason, because you've got just as many people out there saying, hey, I'm a Chase Elliott fan because I love Bill Elliott. And I think that's great for the sport. Absolutely.
100%. Don't disagree. Alrighty, sir. We are headed to Talladega this weekend. After having 4 races in 48 hours, we're only going to get 2 races over 48 hours. But how are things looking for the Xfinity and Cup race this weekend?
Well, I'm going to throw one more in there. We do have an ARCA race that is going to be televised.
True story. Look at that. Look at you. I like that.
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes you can tune in to lap 1 and have it be a wreck fest, or have them kind of go and not wreck. But it's not going to be the typical Alabama summer. I will preface it with that. It's going to be hot. It is going to be sunny skies both days. Saturday highs in the low 90s. Sunday highs in the mid 90s. Light winds both days. Somehow low humidity. So I might not even need to throw out heat indices this whole weekend. But you can say it's a dry heat.
It's a dry heat.
But so's my oven.
I love it. Very nice. All right. Well, hey, we'll make sure you're keeping up with Aaron and Brian throughout the week, and they'll have you covered. Sir,
it's going to be much less eventful. It's going to be much less eventful than Homestead.
Excellent. Well, that's good. That's good.
Yes.
Let's wrap it up with some weather lapped traffic fantasy.
Ooh, yeah.
So the trend of who was on the previous week winning the following is now over. Last week, Brian was poking fun of the tie that you guys had for head-to-head because he was in the lead. You now hold a 4-3 lead in the head-to-head, and you jumped him in the standings by an 8-point lead with 1 week to go in segment 1.
I know. It's actually a really good week. I tweeted about that. I nailed both Xfinity wins.
Yes. That's...
Enfinger, I'm not sure what happened. I just all of a sudden, like, looking at the standings, like, he's just dropping back. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that truck race was unique, to say the least. In terms
That's a good word.
of where everybody ended up finishing, how that race went. It was good. I enjoyed it. But it wasn't as expected, which, there's nothing wrong with things not being as expected. So I'm not going to complain about it. But
that gives you a reason to tune in.
Absolutely. So, yes, I look forward to seeing if you can be for the first time take a 5-3 lead. That'll be fun to see. Things are narrowing down in terms of the available picks. Those will reset after this week, but good luck this week, sir.
Thank you so much. I will look forward to it, and I want to continue the trend this week and go back to Meteorologist of the Week wins and pull out to 5-3 ahead of them.
Excellent. I love it. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, make sure you follow Aaron on Twitter at RaceWeather, along with Brian Newdorf at NASCAR_WXMAN for all the updates. Aaron, great to talk to you. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks, man.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, we'll see you. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, great to catch up with Aaron as always, but those are some barking dogs in the background, which means it's got to be time for this week's Lucky Dog and Lap Down Picks. You guys know the drill. After the race, send me your Lucky Dog and Lap Down Picks, or feel free to call the Wave Around hotline, 248-965-9538. Leave your picks there, and I'll play them on the show. But it's time to get into my picks. My lucky dog, two of them, Homestead and night racing at Martinsville. Both tracks delivered. Absolutely love the Wednesday night race at Martinsville. Absolutely love the race in this weekend from Homestead. And I literally could not come up with a lap down, so I just don't have one. It's my show, so I don't have to. All right, let's get to your tweeted responses. Scott at 1985 Wagner's Xfinity Series, a lucky dog. Can't be anyone other than Briscoe. Laps down to a top 10 and lap down junior. One race a year and still no luck on restarts. Yeah, I hear you there, brother. Scott's Truck Edition. Lucky dog Tyler Ankrum from out of nowhere. Lap down Moffitt. Bad luck is bad luck. And Scott's Cup Edition. Lucky dog Denny Hamlin. Dominating performance. Note, my fantasy ended up 1, 9, 5, and 3 for the races. That is stellar there, sir. Nicely done. And Scott's lap down Newman. 2 spins, don't win. Yep, good call there. CJ at CJ LaPearl's lucky dog Reddick. Great run to RCR, even if he thought the race was over a little sooner than it was. That's funny there. Lap down Logano. Why is he racing that hard with 2 leaders? He was going 2 laps down, looked like a clown. You're not the only one with that thought there, sir. Matt at Camper News, lucky dog. The finish for the Xfinity race was incredible. I believe that this finish was one of the best of the Xfinity series this season so far. Also, Chase Briscoe for coming back for a top 10. Lap down is Chase for his issues. Jess at Iowa NASCAR fans, lucky dog, the Xfinity series. Great track to double down on, 100%. Lap down Kyle Busch. He's got to be pissed. The teammates are winning and he's struggling for a top 10. I'm kind of stunned that Kyle Busch, 12 races in, does not have a win yet. And I think we were kind of talking about this, the same thing last year. And I believe he came back and won the championship. So I'm with you. I'm surprised he's struggling, but I think he's going to turn it up. Maybe he's going to be the new Stewart and just turn it up once the summer months hit or something like that. Maybe Daytona, what was Daytona and the 4th of July race, which is where Smoke used to, turn it up from 8 to 10 there and just go on a tear. Maybe we'll start to see that out of Kyle Busch. Eddie at Eddie _EG3. Lucky Dog Tyler Riddick, great performance. Lap down Noah Gragson. To have the car to beat both races and not win one, that's got to suck. Yeah, I'm with you there. And David at David C. James, Lucky Dog Briscoe, came back from 6 laps down, then won on Sunday. Lap down, it's the 98's team's fault. But if we can't get 15 to 30 minutes of practice time for these teams to shake down their equipment before they drop the green flag. Yeah, I can see that, sir. I can see that. All right, let's get to your calls on the Wave Around Hotline.
What's up, Lap Traffic? Voice of the Wave Road Hotline at Racing Cats. Calling in after Martinsville, 11 o'clock. My ass is going to Wawa right now. Because why not? Pretty good race. Not the greatest Martinsville race I've ever seen, but an okay Martinsville race is still a pretty damn good race. I mean, there wasn't a lot of cautions, but there was a lot, and I mean a lot, of comers and goers in that race. I mean, who would have thought that Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch, those guys are masters at Martinsville, and, they'd be, running in the 30s by that first competition caution. I mean, and then, Keselowski came all the way back and finished, whatever, 3rd, 4th, top 5, whatever. So really fun to watch him come through the field. I mean, just the comers and goers in the race alone was something else. I have to give my lucky dog to Martin Truex's right front fender, which probably helped him win the race. Really good call by Fox. I didn't really pick up on that. But, I remember Junior tore his right front fender off pre-splitter and just, finished like 4th that day with no right front fender because he had the best long-run car that day. I don't remember what year it was, but pre-splitter. That's my lucky dog. My lap down has got to be the Stuart Haas cars, man. I don't know where they've been outside of Harvick. Harvick actually had a pretty good car. He just kind of fell off at the end there, but battery issues and just poor performance by that team. I'm a little puzzled what's going on there. Wish I could be going to Miami this weekend, but hopefully I'll be at the racetrack in the not-so-distant future once things start to really open up here. That's about everything. See you later.
Mr. Andrew Cansian with the Wednesday call-in to the Wave Around Hotline there. Hope your Wawa was good. Had my first experience with them in Richmond. Very good place. Very good place. SHR definitely were just nowhere to be found at Martinsville. Kind of fell off even at Homestead this past weekend. You look, Kevin Harvick didn't have a normal Kevin Harvick performance at Martinsville and SHR as a whole. Plate racing, who knows? Maybe they'll be able to put something together this weekend at Talladega. Almirola's got to win. Boyer's got to win. Harvick's had a couple Talladega wins, so maybe they'll be able to put something together. All right, let's get to the next call on the Wave Around Hotline.
Hi, Brandon. It's Matt at Camper News Net. Part 1 of 2 for the picks for this week, starting with Martinsville for the Cup Series. Race tonight, absolutely loved that. And, night racing, first time at Martinsville, absolutely just love seeing the Cup Series under the lights in Martinsville. And I'm really hoping, eventually we'll see fans back at the track. And hopefully next year will be even better with fans in the stands in general. But just love seeing the Cup Series under the lights. Lucky dog, definitely Martin Truex Jr. Overcame that commitment cone violation in the middle of the race to win it. Absolutely, and the first win of the year for Martin Truex. So absolutely love that. Congratulations to Martin. And lucky dog goes to Bubba Wallace, career finish for Bubba Wallace at Martinsville, 11th. So that's my other lucky dog. And lap down, I'm going to have to give it to Austin Dillon. Having those issues at the beginning of the race, and then, having the exhaustion from the heat inside the car and everything is just bad situation. Glad to see at least hopefully Austin will be okay. But, you know, just feel bad for Austin. So, anyway, that's it. And, I'll talk to you after the Homestead race on Sunday. Thank you so much, Brandon. Take care.
Matt, thanks for calling in. Great call there with the Bubba Wallace career finish there. That was good. And, yeah, absolutely with Austin Dillon there. Glad he is all right. Definitely not used to racing under those conditions. That's for sure. All right, let's get to the next call on the Wave Around Hotline.
Hey, Brandon. It's Kathleen at KHI Fan. We had a great weekend of racing. We had a double dip on Saturday and a double dip on Sunday, so I guess we can call it a double dip of double dip racing. Unfortunately, I could only watch the beginning of the Xfinity race and then the end of the truck race on Saturday, so I didn't see a lot of those. But I did watch both races on Sunday. And also the news just came out about the All-Star race going to Bristol, and I think that's a great idea. I'm sure a lot of people will not be happy, but I think it's going to be a blast. You had thrown out a couple of questions on Twitter, so I'm going to answer those regarding whether the quality of Homestead was there. It was good. I enjoyed it. It just had such a different feel. I just kept getting reminded that it's not the championship weekend, and it just bummed me out. But I thought it was a good race. And I preferred the tandem racing. It is cool to see a pack going round and round, you know, inches from each other. But realistically, I think the tandem is more skillful, and that way we wouldn't have the big ones like we sometimes get. My lucky dog this week is going to go to Chase Briscoe. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun watching to see if he's going to meet his 8-race goal. It's early, and he's got 3 in already, so it honestly wouldn't surprise me if he did or if he got pretty close. So, again, it'll be fun to see. My lap down has to go to Logano solely for the fact that I'm blaming him for Hamlin winning on Sunday. That was no bueno for me. Anywho, that's all I have for now. I will talk to you later. Bye.
Oh, Kathleen, thank you for calling in each week. I love it. Thank you so much. And, you know, you mentioned the skill set with the tandem racing there. Definitely a skill set there in terms of, you know, back when that first came around, you know, you were able to latch up bumper to bumper, and then it was a matter of being able to have enough space to get the switch so that the one car didn't overheat, and then, you know, bounce back and forth with that. And then it was, well, you can touch, but you can only give them a nudge. You can't stay locked up to them. You know, there's definitely a lot of skill in riding that close with somebody there and being able to you know, do it with perfection, basically, is what you had to do. So, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to getting a tandem race and seeing something like that there. That's for sure. All right. We opened it with the voice of the Wave Around Hotline from Wednesday's Martinsville race. We will close out this week's Lucky Dog and Lap Down picks with the voice of the Wave Around Hotline.
What's up, Brandon? Voice of the Wave Around Hotline out in Racing Kansas. The 20%. Calling in for some hot takes, Homestead edition. Fun weekend of racing at Homestead. I think we kind of expect that nowadays. Probably the best intermediate track in the sport, I would say. Running up against the wall is always fun. I thought the Xfinity race was, both of them were fantastic. They were kind of identical races, to be honest with you. Long green runs at the end, late caution. Noah Gragson getting sent over at the end and not winning either. That'll happen in big-time auto racing. So, you know, something I'll have to get over. But all in all, fun weekend. Even the Cup race was really good. I didn't get to see the truck race. Maybe I'll do that today since it's on DVR. Lucky dog in the race, I don't know, man. I think the fans are this week. I mean, we got to see 4 really good races overall. It is awesome. Lap down, yeah, I have a lap down I want to give. Maybe I'll tell you separately later. I'll keep that one to myself. lap down's going to be Joey Logano for being an asshole, as usual, running to the back of people, being lap traffic for no reason, pun intended. I mean, I guess you could say it's even now that, the whole, you cost me a win, I'll cost you a win at Dover. He's a hypocrite. He should know better since, he got junked by Kenseth, which is why I'm now a Matt Kenseth fan. He deserved it. And, Kenseth said, you took a championship away from me, and I'm going to do the same from you, and that was the end of that one. So, I don't know. Logano being Logano as usual. So, whatever. On to Talladega, where I'm sure I'll be complaining all week because speedway racing's not fun. We're going to tear up a bunch of cars for absolutely no reason this week. So, hopefully we get a clean race, but I'm not holding my breath. Have a good weekend, bud.
Oh, Lab Traffic Nation. Andrew Cansian just previewed his call for next week. I'm going to have to get the dump buttons ready for next week. I'm going to have to make sure I'm listening intently with the call next week. I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah, good call on the fans. We got 4 awesome races in a 48-hour period. We got our fill. It was awesome. Fans back at the track, the fans watching at home. Absolutely fantastic. Love it. Thank you to everyone that calls, sends in your tweets for the listener takes, the lucky dogs, the lap downs. Absolutely love it, and cannot wait for the laundry list of lucky dog and lap down picks that I know will be plentiful after Talladega this weekend. All right, let's move along. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, it is time to close this thing out with a little Lap Traffic fantasy. Just a reminder, get your picks in by midnight on Friday. Keep the Twitter interaction up. Use the hashtag Lap Traffic Fantasy. It's awesome, all the stuff you guys talk about with the league. Absolutely love it. This week, Talladega is going to end segment 1. So what's that mean? Well, after this weekend, all of your picks are going to be reset. So you'll have free range for segment 2, which will go through the end of the regular season for the Cup race, and then we'll run with the playoffs. And to make the playoffs, yes, you've got to be in the top 16 cumulative. So I break it up so that I can give some different trophies and prizes and to keep the competition there. But overall, you got to have a great year. So the top 16 will make the playoffs. So that's how it's going to go. So this week's going to be interesting because, as Jess Rose pointed out, there's not a lot of people to pick from this deep into segment 1, and it's a plate race. So curious what strategy you guys are going to use for this. But let's recap this past weekend at Homestead. Few people in the league scored big with Hamlin and Briscoe, which was awesome. I don't believe anybody swept the Xfinity race winners, and a lot of people lost some points with Brett Moffitt there. Week High, who you're going to hear from in a little bit, Jess Rose, who scored 183 points. Still, nobody gives a crap about my picks because I don't even know where I'm at in the standings. That said, let's get to the top 10. In first is Jess Rose with 1069. In second with 1,056 is Joe Hewson. In third with 1,005 is Kent Dolphy. In fourth with 1,000 even is Chad Robb. In fifth with 982 is Toby Christie. In sixth with 980 is Brian Hall. In seventh with 978 is Richard Cravens. In eighth with 963. Ooh, we have a two-way tie for eighth, actually, with Andrew Cansian and Brett Morris. That's absolutely awesome. In ninth is David James with 944. And we got a two-way tie to wrap out the top 10 with 934 with Matt Crowd and John Warrington. So I think it still could be anybody's game to take home some prizes for segment 1. Like I said, cumulative standings are going to start next week. You'll see those on the website. Yeah, there's the recap. Let's get this week's top picker, who is also our current leader, Jess Rose, on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line. Not only did he have week high this past week, but he is also your current leader in segment 1 in the Lap Traffic Fantasy. Welcome to the show, Jess Rose. Jess, what's going on, man? How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Doing pretty good, especially after the picks this last week. So.
Oh man, you are you're running away from it a little bit here. Well, maybe not running away, but pretty decent. About an 11-point cushion. But man, it's Talladega. It's Talladega, and as you mentioned, you tweeted out earlier this week was with the limited number of picks and going to Talladega, things could get a little dicey in the league here to end out segment 1.
Yeah, it's pretty much just being blindfolded and rolling dice and seeing who I have left on who's I'm going to pick for Sunday. But hopefully it all works out and it sticks.
I
So.
like that. I want to send you a trophy, man. So I hope it all works out for you. I hope it works out. What'd you think of the racing this weekend, man?
Yeah, the Cup race was all right, but I really enjoyed that Xfinity doubleheader. Being an Iowa guy and losing a race or the Iowa races this year for Xfinity, at least one track that picked it up was deserving and had a really good race for both days. I think Homestead is just a great track for almost any package. So
absolutely. Well, and I know you're a fan of the Truck Series, and I know you follow along with the Xfinity Series. But like you said, man, as fans of the Truck, the Xfinity Series this weekend stole the show with that doubleheader, and I'm so glad that it worked out and we got the racing that we did.
Yeah, for sure.
So, well, man, what do you say? You ready to make some picks for this weekend at Talladega?
Yeah, let's do her.
All right, Lap Traffic Fantasy. We are headed to Talladega, where Ford has dominated from October 2015 through October 2018. Ford had 7 consecutive wins at Talladega, and they've got 9 wins in the last 11 races. Most of them have been earned by either Logano or Keselowski. There aren't too many players, though, with the Tour 22 available this week, but if you have them, I expect them to be played. Also, this is Ryan Newman's first race back at a restrictor spacer race after his horrific crash at this year's Daytona 500. Newman has back-to-back top 10s at Talladega. Wouldn't be surprised to see a few players take Newman this week. And you've got to go back 6 years, May of 2014, for Toyota's last win. And that was by our most recent winner this past weekend at Homestead, Denny Hamlin. And you got to go back 11 and a half years to their win before that, which was by smoke. Toyota has not favored well in the win column at Talladega. Wonder if Kyle Busch can end his winless streak of 2020 and Toyota's winless streak at Talladega. Who will survive the big one? Who brings home the checkered flag? We will find out this weekend. But first, it's time for our picks. Jess, we'll start with you for the Xfinity Series. Who are you rolling the dice on?
Well, we're going to hope he can break some bad luck, and I'm going to go with Justin Allgaier.
Justin Allgaier. Man, it's funny you say that. I had him down, and I'm not going to lie. I switched it out. And Allgaier's been one of those like streaky racers as of late. So good, but just caught some bad luck. So I like that pick there because maybe he will get some luck on his side. I am going to go with the 22 of Austin Cindric. I'm going to stick with some Fords. I think that's the safe pick this weekend. Over to the Cup race, man. Who are you taking for Talladega's Cup race?
Well, I've been back and forth on this pretty much since Sunday night. I think I'm going to continue the trend of going to try to break some bad luck, and they were fast in Daytona and got dumped. I'm going to go with William Byron.
William Byron. All right. Listen, I'm going to tell you why that's probably going to be a good pick, because I had William Byron written down, and when I was going through the notes, I scratched it off because, like I said, I want to stick with the Ford. So I went from William Byron, who would have been a curse for you if we had matched up, and I am going with Almirola for the Cup race Sunday. So nice job there, sir. I think you're going to do all right. Thanks for calling into the show. Good luck this weekend, and good luck the rest of the way in Lap Traffic Fantasy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. We'll hopefully get to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Yeah, bye.
All right, Lap Traffic Nation, that is going to do it for episode 187 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. Like on Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast. Follow on Twitter, @LapTrafficPC. Subscribe, download on iTunes, Podbean, or your favorite hosting site. Big thanks to Austin Hill, Aaron Studwell, and Jess Rose for calling in. I think I've got somebody lined up for next week, so stay tuned to social media for that. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Make sure you tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!